Hi folks, thanks for stopping by. Today's little video I thought we would do another lesson and we would talk about suspended chords, suspended seconds and suspended fourths, and really just kind of altering our basic chord forms to create more interesting rhythmic movement on our chords. And we're going to kind of base it all kind of around our regular cowboy chords. I don't know why people call them, I guess I know why people call them cowboy chords, but our regular open position chords. I love to use open position chords a lot. I think they sound awesome, and there's so many cool things you can do around them because you have open fingers and open strings we can utilize. So there's a lot of cool concepts for it. So the first thing we have to understand if we're going to be talking about chords and altering the notes within them is we have to understand the major scale. Everything in music comes from the major scale. We're going to begin today talking about the key of C, so I'm going to just base this around the C chord so that we don't have all those pesky sharps and flats. If you're not completely comfortable with the major scale, I would definitely do some homework on that before you watch this video so you understand what I'm talking about. So the interval of a major scale is always the same: 2 whole steps and a half step, 3 wholes and a half step, right? So whole step first would be C to D, second whole step D to E, half step E to F, whole step F to G, G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step, and B to C is a half step on the hex. So that will give us the notes of any major scale if you can remember 2 wholes and a half, 3 wholes and a half, okay? So the notes in the C major scale are going to be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. If we assign a number 1 through 7 and stop on B, that's what we're going to use as chord tones when we're talking about these chord intervals, okay? So if I played a basic C chord, a major chord is made up of the root, the third, and the fifth, or 1, 3, 5, okay? And then on the guitar, all we're doing is we're doubling those notes up. If you look down to your neck, we'd have a C, E, G, C, E, okay? So we're just doubling a couple of those notes up to get a fuller sound, kind of like 2 hands on the piano, right? We only got 4 fingers, so we have to use the open strings and stuff to fill this stuff out a little bit. So immediately, out of the 7 notes we have to choose from, 3 of them are already used: root, third, and fifth, okay? If I took and I added the 7th in, that makes it a major 7. So in this case, I'm just going to put a B on top, which is a really pretty chord. That would be C major 7, okay? If I took and I flatted that 7th to a B flat, that becomes a C dominant 7, or a regular C7 chord, okay? So the 7th is going to give us 2 different flavors of chords by adding that into the note. So then we have a 2 and a 4, okay? And these are what we're going to call suspensions, okay, or susses. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a C suspended second, which just means I'm going to take the 2 and put it in the chord. So I'm going to take the C chord and I'm going to put a D note in the chord. And I'm going to start by putting it up high. Some folks will call this C add 9, indicating that the second is in the second octave of the scale, but it doesn't matter. It's a C suspended second. I call this a melody voicing because the note is high in the chord, okay? So if I wanted to embellish my chords, I could go. So what I'm doing right there is going from C suspended second with the D, 3rd fret on the B string, back to my regular C, take it off to the open B, which makes it C major 7, back to C, right? And I can create a really pretty melodic kind of a flow. We can all hear kind of what many songs that we've heard a million times have that kind of motion on, which I'm not going to play for copyright reasons, but you get the idea. That's a very common kind of motion. So that's a C suspended second, melody form of the chord as I refer to it. Now my brain also likes to think of it as a rhythm chord, right? Because I can put the D low down here. So I could go and take my second finger off. That becomes a C suspended second with the note on the bottom. And I can create kind of like a bass line motion on the bottom of the chord. Easy peasy, right? We can get some really cool sounds just by adding in those 2 versions of the suspended second. Okay, so in the key of C, just taking the second note of the scale, which is going to be D, and adding it into the chord. The suspended fourth is going to be the 4th in the scale, so C, D, E, F, So I'm going to take an F note, put it in the melody, which will be up on top. First fret on your high E string. So that's my suspended fourth up on top. So if I put it up there, I can continue my little melodic version with my suspended second and my major 7 and F. I can do all kind of cool, pretty melodic motion up on top of the chord. Suspended 4, back to C, open E on top, suspended second, back to C. I can put a major 7 on the bottom of it, and have that cool little motion on my melody line. And there's really an unlimited number of things you can do. We're playing this very simply, so you can mess with it at home, but you can take any number of combinations and make that cool. As usual, I could take and put that note on the bottom, which I like a lot. So I'm taking and playing the F note, which would be right here, 3rd fret on the D string with my pinky and my C chord. And that gives me that C sus4 in a rhythm type of chord position, okay? Okay, so I could go, if I was playing rock and roll. You've heard that a ton of times, right? If I combine it with the sus2, I have motion on the bottom. Of stuff happening just from a C chord, right? So these work great if you have a song where maybe you have 4 bars of a C, you know, or you want a pretty intro to a song, or maybe like something coming out of a chorus. These kind of motions can work really great. The one thing you don't want to do is don't want to play so much stuff with chord motion that you're infringing on the melody line of the singer or the melody player if it's an instrumental song. You want to leave room for that. We don't want to introduce a bunch of other notes to the chord when the singer's trying to sing the melody. It can mess them up sometimes when that happens. So that's a really cool way to alter those out. Now, the only other note we have left diatonically, meaning in that major scale, that we haven't utilized is the 6th. Okay? So in the key of C, the 6th is an A, right? So that's kind of like an A, if I made an A minor chord and then put a C bass note on it. That would make that 6th and that C6 chord, which is kind of cool. So I could make that. So I like to do that with a little hammer on. So instead of playing it a full chord voicing, which you could do that obviously, I like to do it by hammering it with my 2nd finger. So I'm going to hammer on the G string from open to the 2nd fret on the A note. And same thing back on the E note right here. So I could go. Create little melodic passes and make things sound kind of interesting just by adding that one note in. Now technically, except for the flatted 7th when we made it a 7th chord, all of those notes are just straight out of the major scale, right? So we're just adding those in and out, and that'll give you all the different variations of those diatonic chords. Now we can add any note you want in there if you think it sounds good. So any note is fair game if your ear thinks it sounds right, okay? If you think it sounds good, somebody else probably thinks it sounds good too, right? So we can do anything we want. So the theory explains why something that already existed sounds good, okay? But it doesn't mean that you have to adhere to all that all the time. If you think it sounds cool, it's oftentimes more fun just to explore and try and find out what you can come up with. So hopefully you found this cool. You can certainly do this all with bar chords as well and move these around up here too. It's the exact same principle, right? I'm going to add a D note or an F note in the bar chord shape. It's exactly the same thing, and that'll give you all the sharps and flats too that you might be missing in the open position. So, kind of cool. But I would start with the open position because it gets really easy to see where they're at. The other thing that's kind of cool is these apply to all your other chords too. Most of us have probably done this on a D chord, right? But maybe we haven't done it so much on a G chord. You know? So if I want a G suspended second, I'm going to add an A in there with my 1st finger. That's a cool sound. The 4 would be a C note, right? So I could put that on the bottom. I could go that one. So I'm making the G chord with my third finger, third fret on the E string, pinky, third fret on the high E string. And then I'm going to hammer what would be a C chord. I'm playing my first finger on the B string, first fret C. Second finger's on the D string, second fret for an E note. And I'm going to hammer that on, and that puts a C in the middle of it. Sometimes people will call that a C over G, and that's okay, whatever you want to call it. But just know that sound. Sounds really awesome on an acoustic guitar. It's kind of a cool sound. So explore these chords, add some notes into them, take some notes off, see what they sound like. Part of the thing you can learn the most from oftentimes when you're practicing is to just spend some time exploring the instrument, and that's where you're going to kind of develop your own voice and kind of come up with your own shtick on the guitar and create your own vocabulary, which will help you define your own unique sound, which I think we're all trying to get, or hopefully we are, you know, trying to come up with our own sound and our own voice on the instrument to do it our own way. So hopefully you find this helpful. If you dig this kind of stuff, please subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Like and comment on the video would be great. All of that helps the channel grow. So I appreciate it. Thanks so much. You have a fantastic day.